Hello and welcome to the Success with Savita podcast, where we share hot tips on how to do life and business without losing your mind. I'm your host, Savita Nanjappa, entrepreneur, high-achieving 9-to-5er turned transformational success coach, helping you create a wildly successful business. Come hang out with me and other fabulous humans like you every week for stories and chats packed with a healthy dose of tips, resources, how-tos, and real talk. Side effects may include a happier and more confident you with each passing day.
Hi, in today's episode, I'm sharing with you an interview that I did recently with Maitri Verma of Little Fixes podcast. For a change, I'm on the other side of the microphone, and I hope you like what you hear. Here goes the interview.
Hey Sassy Nari, welcome to Little Fixes. This is your host Maitri, a social media professional, a mother, and a simple yet sassy woman just like you. Join me for sweet, simple, and practical ideas that help you in transforming into your best self. This mental health and personal growth podcast is a reminder that you matter. Hello Sassy Nari. Thank you for joining me today. तो जब भी मैं लिटिल फिक्सेस का कोई नया एपिसोड एडिट करती हूँ तो मुझे अपनी ही आवाज़ को सुनना पड़ता है और मुझे अभी भी अपनी आवाज़ उतनी अच्छी नहीं लगती है। जब 2019 में मैंने ये पॉडकास्ट स्टार्ट की थी तब से अब तक थोड़ी एक्सेप्टेंस आई है, पर वो क्रिंज वाली फीलिंग एक बार तो आई जाती है। सिमिलरली जब मैं किसी को पॉडकास्ट पे इन्वाइट करने के लिए ईमेल करती हूँ ना तो रिजेक्शन का बड़ा डर लगता है एंड इट इवन स्टॉप्स मी फ्रॉम रीचिंग आउट टू सम पीपल. Fear of rejection, fear of showing up, and letting myself be seen have been my struggles for as long as I can remember, और इनकी वजह से I play small a lot of times. You might also have similar fears that keep you from showing up as your authentic selves. मेरा मानना है कि हमारा काम valuable है and we need to get it out there. तो आपको इंस्पायर करने के लिए I have Savita Nanjappa with me. She is a business and executive leadership coach. आज हम लोग बात करेंगे कि आखिर हमें विजिबल होने से इतना डर क्यों लगता है एंड व्हाई रिजेक्शन पुट्स अस डाउन. Savita will share her powerful tips for overcoming these fears so that we can show up authentically. Before hearing from Savita, please follow Little Fixes on your podcast app and rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It helps a lot. And now to our guest. Hi Savita, welcome to Little Fixes.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I love your introduction. That's very sassy. And I joined the club. Me also listening to my own voice is very hard. I hate editing. I hate editing because I listen to my voice then. And even though I've been doing this for a while, it hasn't gotten better. But now I've learned to ignore it a little bit. But yeah, such a great topic. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the warm welcome.
My pleasure. सो वील स्टार्ट विद द टॉपिक. और जैसे मैंने बोला भी कि ये फियर ऑफ विजिबिलिटी है या फिर शायद ये फियर ऑफ रिजेक्शन भी इसी से आता है कि हमें डर लगता है कि कोई हमें देख लेगा फिर हमसे मना कर देगा कि नहीं, आई कांट एक्सेप्ट यू, समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो ये जो फियर है ये कहाँ से आता है एंड कैन यू ऑल्सो टेल अस अ लिटिल मोर अबाउट इट?
Great question. This fear, and I think that's the starting first step. The question that you're asking, where does it come from? Kahan se aata hai? This is the first step. If you ever want to work through this space of I'm afraid of being judged, I'm afraid of being criticized, and I have fear of rejection. But let's talk about where it really comes from, right? And like all things, it comes from your childhood, from your environment, from your parents, where you grew up, how you grew up, what were your experiences, right? And it really stems from there. And through life, when you have different experiences, and especially traumatic ones, it just adds to that. So let's start with number one, which is, your past negative experiences. When you're growing up, we all have been judged. हम सब reject हुए हैं life में, right? Somebody has rejected us. Some situation has rejected us. So these previous experiences of being judged, rejected, criticized can leave a lasting imprint. And what happens is this includes things like childhood bullying, embarrassing situations, maybe something happened in your family. Sometimes your family, growing up, how you live, your family may have gone through some ups and downs. Maybe, your parents had monetary problems. So things like that add to these feelings of where you may have been, felt humiliated, been rejected by others. The other issue is also school. teachers, how you're we have the carrot and stick method. If you do well, you're smart, and therefore you get all of these things. If you don't study well, or you don't understand something, then you must be stupid, you must be dumb. So schools have changed, teachers have changed, of course, but sometimes it really depends on where these experiences, what you faced, right?
Mm.
So one is that past negative experiences. Second is, over a period of time, you have a low self-esteem. So now this makes you have a heightened fear of judgment, because you have poor self-esteem and you're afraid of being seen as unworthy or inadequate. The third thing would be social comparison. And we are all compared. Who isn't? And now with social media, you're compared all the time, right? Itna likes Mila, this one did not respond, or you reached out to someone, and in business you get rejected every day, right?
Mm.
So social comparison. And growing up, think about our families. It's always, oh, log kya kahenge?
Mm.
What will happen? What will he say? What will she say? What will the neighbors say? What will, other people in the family say? So we have been conditioned to constantly compare ourselves to others. And I think I have a daughter, and sometimes, very rare, I've caught myself, I've said, oh, so that person did this. See, they are doing, and it may not be with studies, it may be something more silly, like,
Yeah.
or something. But I've said, she likes to do that. Why don't you like to do it? But that is still comparison. We're saying
Yeah.
that to do it, and that's better.
Mm.
So we are conditioned, we're brought up on comparison.
Mm.
And then, of course, perfectionism. We put ourselves under heavy pressure to come across. We set high standards for ourselves, which is good, but it's also not that great when it's impacting and impeding your own growth. So you're constantly seeking validation from outside. And like I said, traumatic experiences, maybe your life experiences, something's gone, we all have ups and downs. So that then increases, it creates a heightened sense of vulnerability. So you're afraid of exposing yourself to being evaluated or judged by others. So you avoid situations because of this, which will lead to you being judged, and therefore you may not speak up. You may not ask for something that you deserve, a role. You may not ask for that raise at work, because you don't want to be rejected. So you try to avoid situations where this can happen. So, to answer your question, very long answer, where does it come from? It comes from all of these different things that are happening to us in our lives as we grow up and as we are going through life at this time. So yeah, those are some of the reasons.
ओके। तो हमें रिजेक्शन से डर लगता है, बट डर लगता क्यों है? अब बिकॉज़ ऐसा तो नहीं होगा कि किसी ने हमें रिजेक्ट कर दिया तो
Mhm.
फिर हमारी लाइफ खत्म हो गई। मान लो मैंने किसी को पॉडकास्ट के लिए ईमेल किया, दे डू नॉट रिप्लाई, आई फॉलो अप, दे स्टिल डू नॉट रिप्लाई।
Yeah,
तो मतलब अगर सिंपल तरीके से सोचें तो किसी को नहीं पता है, ओनली
mm,
दैट पर्सन नोज़ और मे बी दे हैवंट इवन सीन माय ईमेल, बट
correct.
स्टिल आई एम फीलिंग सैड और मुझे डर भी लग रहा है कि यार ऐसा हो गया। आई डोंट नो व्हाई। तो आखिर डर लगता ही क्यों है ये?
Your example is of you trying and getting rejected and feeling bad. That
हुँ,
is still an improvement, right? Now,
हुँ,
there's a whole huge group of people who are scared of rejection, so they don't try at all.
हाँ,
So that's a different group.
आई डू दैट आल्सो।
Okay. No, join the club. Look, डर क्यों लगता है?
हुँ,
If you don't get scared, it's a very human emotion. And every human being is scared of rejection. Name one person in this entire, the number of confident people, that percentage is very small. The percentage of people who are not confident, who are worried, who fear a little bit, is very large. So it's a very basic human need. And it's very interesting that you asked this question, because I'll tell you, क्यों
हुँ,
लगता है? डर क्यों लगता है? Because that is how we have evolved. If you look back at evolution,
हुँ,
okay, before, we became who we are, till we became the human beings that we are and live in the society that we live, this modern world, basic human need for acceptance is an evolutionary need, which means, what I mean is, it's a survival instinct. As human beings, we were in groups. If we weren't in groups, and if you were alone, you could be attacked by wild animals. You were thrown out of your tribe. You didn't have protection. You didn't have resources. You didn't have access. And I'm talking about hundreds and thousands of years ago. So, as evolutionary beings, as human beings, being accepted and valued within a social group, that's why human being is a social, humans are social beings. Within a social group was very, very, very crucial for our survival. We needed to belong to groups because
Mhm.
isolated and alone, we wouldn't survive. So it was a need for survival. So in the past, exclusion from a group, if you got rejected or you didn't conform to the group leader didn't like you, you're a part of a tribe, you got thrown out of the tribe, you would die because you're thrown out of the tribe, you're thrown out of the village, maybe where you live, and you're isolated. You could be attacked by wild animals. You couldn't find food, right? So that is where it stems from. And remember, DNA exists and it goes through. So it's we've always needed to be a part of a group. So rejection, why do you get scared? It's because of that. Because somewhere in our being, somewhere in our DNA, we as human beings have evolved and have survived because we were part of groups. So that's one. Second is, we do have fear of emotional pain. We're all emotional beings also.
Hmm.
And our validation and self worth comes from acceptance from somebody else. Think about it. We all, and it's like we can say that, oh, you don't need validation from anyone, you just need yourself, but that's not realistic.
Yeah.
As human beings, our validation and self-worth, a large part of it comes from outside of us, not from within of us, right?
Hmm.
Within of us comes over a period of time, when you become more aware, when you spend more time with yourself. But overall, in general, it comes from outside of ourselves. So the pain of rejection, the fear of rejection, is it's hard. So why are we scared of feeling rejected? Because we want to avoid that pain. We don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel left out or bad. And then, of course, it also depends on your self worth. How much have you built up your self worth? And it's not something that we think about every day, right? Okay, what's my self worth? Aaj mera self worth kya hai? We don't spend enough time on that. But if you understand that I'm scared of rejection and my work or the way I live, there are many opportunities to be rejected. I need to work on my self worth, which will help me overcome this. And finally, social comparison exists, so we are afraid. So when you ask the question, "Dar kyun lagta hai?" Number one, I think it's very normal. So it's okay to be scared. Everyone is scared. Very, very few people exist in this world who are saying, "I'm not afraid of rejection." They've been rejected so many times that they've learned how to survive it, and that's why. But it's fine, it's normal. What you got to ask, the better question is, how can I deal with it? Yeah, I'm scared. What do
Hmm.
I do to deal with rejection if I'm rejected?
Mm-hmm. एंड वील टॉक अबाउट दैट ऑल्सो.
Yeah.
एंड होता क्या है कि शोइंग अप ऑथेंटिकली इज डिफिकल्ट. कई बार जैसे आपने बोला भी कि सोशल वैलिडेशन चाहिए होता है.
Mm.
तो हम अगर सोशल मीडिया का एग्जाम्पल ले लें तो फिर वी कंपेयर ourselves with everyone. और कई बार बाहर के लोग भी कंपेयर कर देते हैं हमारे कमेंट्स में आके कि
Yeah.
ऐसा है, और हमारे घर वाले कंपेयर कर देते हैं. So it's
Yeah.
easy to feel that your opinions don't matter. The
Yeah.
real you don't matter. And also that you have nothing interesting to say. जैसे मैं इतने टाइम से ये पॉडकास्ट कर रही हूँ, या फिर मैं 9 years से सोशल मीडिया मैनेजर का काम कर रही हूँ, बट फिर भी ये लगता है कि मैं ये आइडिया दूं या नहीं दूं क्लाइंट को. पता नहीं, इट विल मैटर, दे विल रिजेक्ट इट, और दे रिजेक्ट इट ऑब्वियसली समटाइम्स, और दे ऑल्सो एक्सेप्ट इट. तो फिर a different kind of fear comes in. Even though we want to work harder, we get scared.
Yeah.
ऐसा क्यों होता है?
So, like I said, scared is in every area. Okay. But why are we afraid to be authentic? Is again because you're not so sure that who you are matters to other people. But that's the wrong way of looking at it first. The question you've got to ask yourself is, who you are, does it matter to you? Have you spent some time understanding who you are? Do you know who you are? Do you know what your values are? Or is it all, outside? So there are external motivations and there are internal motivations. And, authenticity is a very abstract concept. But what is authenticity? Let's define it and understand it a little bit. Authenticity does not mean that you say everything that's on your mind
Hmm.
all the time, right? It's about being able to make decisions, being able to live your life the way you want to live it based on your values, not because somebody else wants it, or maybe because it will work for someone else, or because the other person thinks it's right. You have your values that, hey, I want to live my life like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways. These are important to me. And those values can be anything, right? It can be that I I know my purpose. I want to be I mean, I want to make money, but I also want to do something that I love. I want to have some hobbies. I want to have some time for myself. I don't want to be in the rat race all the time. Those are some things that you can have,
Mhm.
and that makes you who you are. And also that you may have certain talents and you want to use those talents, and you may be good at some things, but you don't talk about it because it's not the most popular thing that everybody else is supposedly good at. You may, someone may be good at dance and singing, but you may be very good at maybe creating an outfit, tailoring, but you don't talk about that because it's not so popular, right? So when you look at authenticity, it's about not about being what the world wants you to be, but it's about being who you are. But it doesn't mean there's a difference between transparency and authenticity. You can be who you are, but you don't have to be transparent and show everybody everything all the time, which is what I think people confuse. They're like, oh,
Mm.
should I say everything all the time? Should I be afraid? But it all boils down to self-worth. I think, maybe I'm complicating. So let's go back to what is authenticity. It's who you are and how you come across and how much of yourself you want to share with the world. And why are we afraid to be authentic? I think it boils down to external and internal motivations, right? But what you need to do is start small. I think
Mhm.
that's my advice, is to start small. Start showcasing a little bit of yourself. Start allowing your setting up some boundaries around what you like, how you like. Start speaking up for yourself, but not in an passive aggressive way or an aggressive way or being passive. Speak up a little assertively. You may be scared in the beginning, it's fine, but slowly speak up. And you'll find that you're stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit. As you open up, you'll find that the world is not reacting badly to you. Nothing has fallen, the world is
Mhm.
not ended.
Yeah.
And then be like, okay, you know what, I can just be myself. And you will, over a period of time, know when to say what and how to say, depending on what you feel and who you are, and not so much about what others want you to say. I
Mhm.
hope I've not confused this whole thing of authenticity. But scared, when you ask me why you're scared to be authentic, it's for the same reasons that you don't want to be rejected.
Mhm. ओके। नाउ देयर आर एट लीस्ट 2 टाइप्स ऑफ पीपल। एक
Hmm,
तो होते हैं जिनको रिजेक्शन से डर लगता है एंड दे गिव अप। देन देयर आर पीपल हू ट्राई
hmm,
एंड रिजेक्शन हो जाता है, दे गेट स्कैर्ड।
hmm.
एक्चुअली एक थर्ड टाइप के पीपल हैं जो जिनको डर ही नहीं लगता है, दे कीप डूइंग देयर थिंग। तो ऐसे लोगों में और डरने वाले लोगों में क्या डिफरेंस होता है?
That's a that's a great question. And as I think about it, equality I feel is really important. Okay, there are many, I would say many reasons, but the most important quality is resilience. And
Mhm.
what is resilience? Being able to take setbacks and still be able to keep going. Because when resilient people, or what is developing a resilient mindset, it all boils down to mindset also, right? To be able to say, huh, rejection hua, theek hai, fine. Now what do I do? Do I give up fully? Or do I say, okay, let me explore why this happened? Why was I rejected? Is there a lesson that I can take away from this? Correct, course correct, and continue. Okay. And that boils down to mindset. So you have to build a resilient mindset over a period of time. And I think that also boils down to something I call as hunger. What you want, you have to want it so much more that you're willing to go through that rejection. You're willing to go through hearing those no's and still keep going, saying, okay, it's okay. This didn't work. I'm going to try a different tarika. This person rejected me, can I try a different person and see if that works? So I think the answer to that is why are they different, is that quality of having the resilient mindset, saying, okay, I mean, this is part and parcel of life, theek hai, hota hai, but let's just keep going. And I think that comes from a place of, I mean, that comes from doing a lot of work with yourself. For some people it comes naturally. I would love to know from these people, but what we think is natural, it's actually, if you go back and you look at their environment, their support systems, their family systems, their relationships, maybe it stems from that. Something is driving that ability to say, okay, I need to keep going.
Mhm. Yeah. And Savita, you are a leadership coach. So I'm sure you help a lot of people with the resilience, with
Yeah,
mindset shifts, things like
yeah.
that. So now we want to understand from you कि ये डर जो है ये हम कैसे हटाएं? कैसे लीडर बनने का मतलब कई बार लोगों को लगता है कि किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का टॉप लीडर बनना है या कुछ
Mhm.
करना है इस तरीके का, बट I think we each of us is a leader in our lives, क्योंकि
Yeah,
तभी हम अपनी लाइफ का कोर्स अपने आप ही डिसाइड करते हैं.
yeah,
और सिंपल थिंग्स लाइक मैनेजिंग योर होम इज ऑल्सो काइंड ऑफ अ लीडरशिप. तो
yeah.
ये जो रिजेक्शन का डर है कैसे हटाएं? हाउ डू यू हेल्प people who work with you, and how can you help our listeners today?
Yeah. Okay. So here I'm going to share a few tips, and you take the ones that you can apply.
Mhm.
You don't have to do everything today, but you can pick up one, two areas and start working on. The first thing is understanding that the awareness, right? The fact that I'm able to sit down and ask, okay, I'm scared. Why am I not doing the things that I want to do? And understand why you're not doing it, right? Is it out of this, like you said, fear of rejection? Is it something else? So once you become aware that this is something you want to fix, this is something you want to work on, this is something you want to develop, and you now believe that you want to develop your leadership skills. You may already, everyone is a leader, like you said, but you just want to become better. You want to create, develop that strength. Great. First step is really look at your mindset. Do you have a positive mindset? Do you have a growth mindset? What is growth mindset and fixed mindset difference, right? Growth mindset says, a fixed mindset says, oh, I can't do this, so I'm not going to do it. This is all I can do. But a growth mindset says, I can't do this yet, but I'm going to figure out how I can do this,
Mm.
right? So being able to say, I don't know, accepting that I don't know all of these things, but I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to find out, I'm willing to understand. So develop a growth mindset. Be positive. You're going to have failures in life. So you can't go into life saying, yesterday I watched a very interesting interview of this very controversial person called Andrew Tate. And one of the
Mhm.
things he said really resonated with me. He said, people tell me all the time that, oh, depression does exist. I'm not saying that you can't be depressed. What I'm
Mm.
saying is it's not going to help you in life saying, yeah, depression, I'm depressed, so what, I'm things are not going to go well for me, because you've got no chance of making things better if you've already decided that there's no hope when you have depression, right?
Mhm.
So the point I'm trying to make is you can have ups and downs. Every day is not going to be a Sunday, right? But have a positive mindset and be able to say, okay, I need to get some things done today, and how do I get them done? And what are some positive things that I'm going to do, even if I don't feel the greatest today, right? Even if I don't feel very well with myself. The other thing that we miss out a lot is to build strong relationships. Like surround yourself. I'm not just talking about friends, right? I'm also talking about, having the right people, the support system around you. It could be coaches like me, it could be friends, it could be a podcast that you listen to, right? It's about what you are consuming, who you are surrounded by, what your environment is. Maybe a podcast helps you, build a strong mindset. Maybe you read a book. Maybe you have people around you who are supportive, who are not tearing you down, who are not toxic. Okay, so build and surround yourself. Build a good environment. Surround yourself with the right people. Ask for help. And when you need help, when you need support, make sure that you ask for help. We are, especially women who are listening to this, we are not very good at asking for help. Ask for help. Ask people, you know what, I'm struggling with this. Can you help out? Or can you, give me a couple of hours? Or can I chat with you on this, right? Practice self-care. This is very important. And हम self-care से we think like, हाँ, सिर्फ massage जाना है, beauty parlor. No, it's not that. Self-care means, are you eating right? Are you sleeping right? Because these are the routines that will keep you going when you have stress, right? And
Mhm.
you're going to have stress if you're a leader, if you're working in our regular everyday life. There are going to be setbacks, so you learn how to deal with that. But most importantly, if you don't take away anything, here are three things that I do want you to take away. Develop your own adaptability. Be open to change, which is what I was saying, growth mindset. Be open to change. Learn to adapt to new circumstances. Today, if you're comfortable, put yourself a little out of your comfort zone. You're scared to reach out to somebody because you think you're going to be rejected. It's
Mm.
okay. Send that email. What's the worst that's going to happen? You've already been rejected. You've already, somebody's already said no to us. It's not a new feeling. So you're not going to lose anything by when the answers you think is already no. Send out that email. Put yourself out of that comfort zone a little bit. So develop that ability to adapt. Things don't go your way. Problem solve. Develop your solving skills, flexible mindset, so you can just kind of adjust your plans. The other thing is develop effective coping strategies. You have setbacks. How are you going to deal with it? Okay, you cannot go through life saying, "Ha, I'm positive, sab kuch positive hai, nothing bad is going to happen." No, something bad is going to happen. I'm not bad. Something will not go your way. Do you have coping strategies? That could be practicing mindfulness. That may be exercise. That may be going for a walk. That may be spending some time with somebody, having a conversation. learn from setbacks. Failures are not who you are. Okay, but you can learn from a failure. And I want to share a story. My whole career has been built, second career, I would say, has been built on rejection. I've got rejected so many times. Every day, if you have a podcast, every day you get rejected. If you're pitching to a client, you can get rejected. So, yeah, learn from your setbacks. That's the other one. And finally, practice gratitude. Difficult times are not going to stay always. So, to build your resilience, practice gratitude. And they say the more you are thankful for, the more things you have to be thankful. So I hope those are like basic tips, but if you spend time with it, I think there may be one or two things that you can take away and apply to yourselves.
Yes. Okay, so Savita, this all was very enlightening. And there's one more thing that I want to ask you, and it is our section called Sass It Up. So, isme I will give you something, a statement or something, a situation, and you have to give me a sassy comeback, which maybe our listeners can also use.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
gonna try.
We are talking about leadership. We are talking about getting past rejection, embracing failures, and social acceptance. So, अगर कोई हमसे ये कहता है, you are getting too big for your boots. So, what would be an appropriate comeback for that person?
I should buy new boots. Yeah, if it's too big, probably I'm wearing the small size ones.
Wow. Okay. Hi, Sivane. We'll get to shop also.
Yeah.
Wow, that was nice. And Savita, also, are you a reader or do you have a book related to this topic you'd like to recommend?
Actually, I'm a big reader, and there are a
Mhm.
bunch of books. The one that comes to mind is called Confidence Creator. I think that's something about this. The author who writes this also is Heather Monahan. I'll send you the
Mhm.
name. So it's called Confidence Creator, and she talks about how she's been rejected, she got fired, how she created her career.
Mhm.
So she talks about her own stories and how she built her confidence. So I think that's a great book to start with. But I also believe that when we are talking about rejection, it's not just alone with confidence. Read books around self love as well, because we have to fill our own
Yeah.
cup. We have to treat ourselves well. We have to have compassion for ourselves. So I think even Jay Shetty's Eight Rules for
Mhm.
Love, but it's more about relationships. But yeah, start with Confidence Creator, and
Okay, and I'm also going to read this one.
yeah,
And Savita, thank you so much for all your ideas, for your inspiration. But before we let you go, please let us know a little more about your work and how can people connect with you?
sure. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Savita Nanjappa, or Instagram, which is Success with Savita. So that's out of the way. What I do is I do coaching, one-to-one coaching, and then we also have group programs. Primarily B2B, we work with corporates where they hire me to come in and train their leadership teams, coach their leadership teams one-on-one, or we do workshops. But if you want to work with me, and what I do, my primary work is I help you in terms of executive coaching. If you are a career person, then I help you grow in your career through visibility, building your personal brand, and obviously building your leadership skills. And that's through resilience and dealing with rejection and not being
Yeah.
afraid and putting yourself out there. If you are a business owner, if you are in the early stage of your business, then you can talk to me and I work with you to help you build strategies to grow your business and scale your business. And you can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Just reach out to me, DM me, and I'm happy to chat with you. And of course, we have a podcast. Do listen to my podcast as well. It's called
Yeah.
Savita Podcast. Yeah, between little fixes and success with Savita Podcast, I'm sure you got your morning routine down where you can listen to our podcast on your drive to work or wherever you're heading to.
Yes, yes. And even I listen to podcasts in the morning or when I'm cooking. Mostly it is with chores.
Yeah,
And that's why I think I like podcast more because वो थोड़ा सा passive है, but you keep getting info जो आपको चाहिए and you also keep getting some work done.
yeah. It's a secondary activity, right? So you can listen easily.
Yes. And Savita, thanks again for being on Little Fixes and giving us your time.
Thank you for having me. I hope you find something valuable in everything that we discussed today. I wish each one of the listeners the very best and keep going forward. So, what if you're rejected? It doesn't matter. Thank you for having me.
So show up and let yourself be seen.
Yes.
Savita's ideas are there to guide you. अगर आपको ये एपिसोड वैल्यूएबल लगा तो प्लीज हेल्प लिटिल फिक्सेस रीच मोर पीपल बाय शेयरिंग इट विद समवन यू केयर अबाउट. यू कैन ऑल्सो गिव अस अ शाउट आउट ऑन इंस्टाग्राम. मेरा हैंडल है @littlepixespodcast. दिस हेल्प्स मी इन ग्रोइंग द पॉडकास्ट और बहुत सारे और लोगों की हेल्प भी होती है इसको सुन के. आई एम ग्रेटफुल फॉर योर टाइम. अब मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वेडनेसडे को. तब तक के लिए खुद से प्यार करते रहो और सदा सैसी रहो. बाय.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you like this episode and you want more, you can go to the show notes on my website, which is successwithsavita.com/podcast. If you like what you've heard so far, I would be grateful to you if you could leave me a 5-star review, subscribe to this podcast, and share with a friend who may find this useful. You can also follow me on my Instagram @successwithsavita and DM me any questions you may have, and I will be happy to answer them for you. Until the next episode, believe in yourself and all the best to your success.